Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team 9, and we will be discussing Juniper Hotel selection procedure. I'm Martina Lagman.
I'm Tom Cook.
I'm Dana Osavin.
So diving right into the agenda on page 2, we'll be first discussing the situational analysis, then going into stakeholders, evaluation of our alternative selection procedures, our strategic recommendation, the operational implementation of that recommendation, and the post-implementation evaluation.
So page 3, situational analysis internal, we have 3 key issues. So limited scope, poor assessment device choices, and lack of person organization and person job fit. Moving on to page 4, our first key issue was poor assessment device choices. So along with that, there was low predictive validity and reliability in the previous selection program. The structured interviews have predictive validity of 0.51 as opposed to a 0.38 for unstructured interviews. And structured interviews are more reliable as there is standardization with rating scales. There was also a lack of objective and observable scores. So unstructured interviews are judgmentally collected and combined, and there's no formal scoring. And then there was a higher likelihood of rater errors because there was a lack of standardization. Unstructured interviews have inconsistent content, administration, and scoring. And there was biases present in different raters, and raters could change their judgments based on the mood/situation. And then moving on to page 5, our second key issue was limited scope. So the candidate pool was restricted. They had a smaller candidate pool because recruiting was restricted to one university, Western University. And then there was minimal KSAOs evaluated. So they had 2 hurdles consisting of a resume screening and an unstructured interview, which inadequately evaluates candidates on successful work-related characteristics. The previous job analysis did not identify 4 to 5 key work-related job tasks for the role of the assistant front office manager, and there was inadequate job task identification results and inadequate selection of work-related measures.
So we decided to focus on teamwork, hospitality experience, multitasking, leadership, and customer service on page 6, which discusses the KSAOs needed for an assistant front office manager. We decided this based on discussion among us. Lack of person and organization fit and lack of person job fit on page 7. So with a lack of PO fit, a premier hotel requires premier customer service, so we would need to represent the premier brand image and have culturally competent staff, as the hospitality system encounters many types of people of diverse backgrounds. With a lack of person job fit, we would need exemplary customer service abilities and advanced multitasking capabilities, as well as skills in database management, experience in hospitality management, maintain professionalism, and excel in teamwork. And we believe that these are important in a successful AFOM. So moving on to the situational analysis external key issues on page 8, we decided to focus on 3, with the economy, hospitality industry outlook, and globalization. Moving on to page 9, with the hospitality industry outlook, we found a Deloitte study said that global travel industry gross bookings reached $1.6 trillion in 2017, making it one of the largest and fastest growing sectors in the world. So this means that the high demand for traveling will need to be met with a hotel supply to match. The hospital industry is also facing competition from Airbnb. However, we believe that the Airbnb targets cost-saving young adults, travelers, while Juniper Hotels will be targeting high-income business and luxury travelers. The economy. Juniper Hotels is located in the central business districts of cities all over the United States, so the demand for room reservation in large cities and these districts will be more stable than the demand in smaller cities and rural areas, as these areas will be receiving less traffic. For globalization, there is increasing globalization, which creates a greater need for lodging in major cities all over the United States. Luckily, Juniper Hotels is positioned to do so. So hotel staff will need to be aware of these changing trends and be able to stay on top of it.
Slide 10, Stakeholder 1, Hotel Customers. Their financial interest is that they want to get their money's worth at their stay at Juniper. Poor problem solving and reservation mistakes can result in money lost for their customer experience. Their emotional interests involve having the best experience possible at Juniper Hotels. A competent assistant front office manager will ensure that their stay is with high quality and with high service. And if they are dissatisfied with the process, they're not aware of the selection plan or the procedures, but they are aware of the outcomes. So, additionally, a poor hire would result in customers not enjoying their stay at Juniper hotels, which could hurt brand reputation and customer retention. Some points of conflict could result from the customer is always right. Inherently, this could conflict if the customer demands cause the hotel staff to have emotional or financial expenses. Slide 11, Stakeholder 2, Hotel Coworkers. Their financial interest is that high performance among team members can result in increased wages, and productivity creates money for the company. This results from having a high-performing assistant front office manager. Their emotional interest is that the assistant front office manager will be involved in coordinating with the employees on a regular basis. If the assistant front office manager has an unfavorable personality, it can take a toll on the hotel staff. Some direct impacts of having a poor hire would be dissatisfaction and ruined team dynamics. Additionally, turnover for that role could disrupt team functioning. A successful hire could create a feeling of person-org fit, as a proactive manager could encourage organizational citizenship behaviors. Some points of conflict: hotel staff might want an assistant front office manager that will be lenient with their tasks and evaluations, which is counter to the success of the hotel and customer satisfaction. Slide 12, Stakeholder 3, the HR team. So, our financial interests are to have a selection program that accurately predicts job performance in order to recruit high-performing candidates in order to have a high return on our investment. We would have a high retention rate and a low turnover rate, which will save money. Our emotional interest is that we will have a strong relationship with our employees, and we want to hire someone with the most person-job and person-org fit. A consequence of a poor hire would reflect poorly on the HR team. We will have to do the process over again if we need to rehire a candidate using time and resources. A successful hire will represent Juniper Hotels in a positive light. Some points of conflict: the HR team might want to do a selection program that requires less effort if they're receiving the same compensation. We also have the least amount of in-person interaction with the AFOM once they are hired.
Moving on to slide 13, option 1 for alternative is a low cost, low validity. So this has 2 hurdles: resume screening and unstructured interviews on site. The total cost for this option is $6,500. The total commitment is 6 days, and the predictive validity of this option is 0.38 in the reference appendix 8. Option 2 is medium cost, medium validity. So this has 5 hurdles, which include resume screening, unstructured interviews on campus, structured interviews on site, along with a cognitive test and personality test on site. The total cost for this option is $12,100. The total time commitment is 12 days, and the predictive validity is 0.67. And then our last option is option 3 on page 15, high cost and high validity. So this also includes 5 hurdles: resume screening, unstructured interviews on campus, cognitive test on campus, and then a structured interview on site with the job simulation. The total cost for this option is $16,600 with a time commitment of 2 weeks and a predictive validity of 0.79.
So looking at the alternative evaluation criteria on page 16, we chose to focus on 4: cost, predictive validity, ease of administering, and time to hire. For cost, how much does the selection program cost, and will the ROI justify these costs? 1 means that it is a very high cost, over triple the previous strategy, and 5 would mean minimal cost, having it cheaper than the previous strategy. Predictive validity, how valid are the predictive measures? Do the measures evaluate the job KSAOs? A score of 1 means a predictive validity of less than 0.4, and 10 has an average predictive validity of greater than 0.8. So for ease of administering, what is the degree of difficulty in executing these procedures? How much effort is required to evaluate the candidates? 1 would mean 5 or more hurdles, and 5 would mean 2 or fewer hurdles, so it is quite easy. Time to hire, how long does the program take, and how long will it take to hire the candidates? 1 would mean 1 week or less, so very quick, and 5 would mean 3 weeks or more, so it is a more lengthy procedure. Slide 17, here is a summary of the criteria for each option. So option 1 has a score of 5, meaning it is very cheap, a predictive validity of 1, so a lower predictive validity, so less than 0.4. Ease of administering would be 5, so it is only 2 hurdles, so it's really easy to administer, and time to hire would be a 1, so it is shorter. Option 2, medium cost, medium validity. Cost having a 3, so it is medium cost, a little bit more expensive than the old one, but still cheaper. Predicted validity of 0.6 or of 6, meaning that the predicted validity is around that 0.6 range. Ease of administering would be 1, so there are more hurdles. Having it 5 hurdles would take a lot longer time. Time to hire is a 2. Option 3, high validity and high cost. We put cost at a 2 because it is almost triple the cost of the old selection plan. Predictive validity is 9 though, with with option 3 having a predictive validity of 0.79, so almost 8. Ease of administering would be a 1 as there is 5 hurdles and we have added job simulation, so that is costly and time takes up a lot of time. Time to hire is about a 3 as it does take a longer time and in comparison to the previous strategy. After considering all our options, we decided to go with option 3, the high validity and high cost option. It has the highest predictive validity of all of these options, and we decided that this would be better and more important than having a shorter and less expensive selection procedure.
Slide 18. So some positives and negatives of our selection plan. Some positives are a large candidate pool, which increases the likelihood of obtaining a higher performing candidate. We have 5 levels of evaluation, which are more opportunities for candidates to demonstrate KSEOs and more opportunities for unqualified candidates to get screened out. And we have higher predictive validity. The new program has a 0.79, while the previous program has a 0.42. Some negatives of our program: it is costly. It is over double the cost of our original program, which is risky if we don't have a sufficient ROI to cover our costs. And an additional negative is a significant effort for recruiters. They have to conduct 40 interviews in addition to 32 cognitive tests and 8 job simulations, and that's after assessing 60 resumes in a matter of a few days. And finally, unstructured interviews might screen out qualified candidates. They may suit some applicants better than others, regardless of job qualifications, and the lack of standardization increases the risk of disparate treatment or impact.
On slide 19, operational implementation, linking it back to stakeholders and core issues. So we had 3 stakeholders: hotel customers, hotel workers, and the HR team. For hotel customers, the assistant front office manager will have a large positive or negative impact on the company reputation depending on customer satisfaction. Hotel workers, if the selection is done correctly, the assistant front office manager will boost morale and motivation. And then for the HR team, choosing the right candidate will lower turnover and eliminate associated costs of replacing an employee. And then for our core issues, it will improve the previous ineffective selection plan by choosing successful and profitable candidates, which will increase ROI, customer satisfaction, and hotel staff productivity.
Moving on to slide 20, operational implementation, defining and measuring success. So we decided to focus on 4 measures: positive ROI, customer satisfaction, increased productivity rating, and low turnover and high retention. So with a positive ROI, that will represent that the selection procedure accurately predicted job performance, and it would indicate that we chose high-performing candidates with a less expensive selection plan. Customer satisfaction, high-performing job candidates will improve the customer experience, and this will increase positive word of mouth and customer retention. Increased productivity rating, a successful AFOM will encourage workers to do their job in a timely manner and to the best of their ability. So this will increase productivity, meaning more projects will be able to be handled and completed. Low turnover and high retention. A high retention means that we chose a candidate with high person org fit, and low turnover would mean that we chose a candidate with high person job fit.
Slide 21, post-implementation evaluation. So here's our actual timeline and budget. It only differs a little from our proposed timeline and budget. Some key changes is that instead of conducting 32 unstructured interviews on campus, we conducted 24. We overestimated the amount of qualified candidates we would find after resume screening, and so this reduced our costs. But we also had to administer a cognitive test on site in addition to the 24 on campus, because one of the unsolicited candidates, they had no campus that could have a on-campus unstructured interview administered to, so we had to bring them on site for their cognitive test. And then we had our job simulation and structured interviews as according to plan with 8 each. And we extended a job offer and found 3 qualified candidates.
On slide 22, post-implementation evaluation effectiveness. So we increased the return on investment. Our ROI was 179.1%. We also had higher validity, so the new selection procedure has a predictive validity of 0.79, and then we had improved candidate performance. The selected candidate performance well exceeded average performance with scores of 8.
On slide 23, we discussed post-implementation evaluation and the changes we would make. So first off, we decided that we would choose a cheaper selection strategy. This way we can increase our ROI while still choosing a qualified candidate. We decided we would add personality tests as well to supplement the cognitive tests, as they are cost-effective and they work well when paired with other selection procedures. We removed job simulations from the selection procedure. They definitely weren't worth the money spent and the time that we had to put. We would change unstructured interviews on campus to structured interviews to increase predictive validity and reliability. We'd also choose less candidates from the resume screen to save money and time. Many candidates interviewed were not worth the money spent. And we would lastly develop criteria for resume screening and score evaluation. We made a lot of our decisions based on intuition and what we thought was best, rather than using statistical or mechanical measures to measure the most qualified candidate.
Slide 24. What did we learn? So job simulations are not necessarily worth the time or money necessary to administer. Resume screening was difficult due to the high level of subjectivity and lack of quantitative information to analyze. If we focus on ROI as a success measure, a longer and more expensive selection procedure does not mean that it is better. Trying to use assessment devices with objective scoring rather than subjective scoring is better for an effective selection procedure. And the premier hospitality program at Northern University does not indicate the higher success of those candidates, considering 2 of our chosen candidates were from Western and only 1 was from Northern.
Thank you for listening to our job selection procedure plan, and we are open to any questions.